G'day Supercoaches and welcome back for another video. In this video I'll be going through the round 1 recap of my team and who performed well, who needs to lift their game and what I'm considering doing in the next few weeks. So if we see here that I finished with 2,137, which was in the top 2%, which is pretty good. I remember last year I was ranked about 25,000 after round 1. So this is a much better improvement than last year, which is good. Let's just see who has done well for us this week. Yes, we'll start off in the back line. Rory Laird was great. He had 20-odd, high 20s disposals, tackled. He played really well. I'm surprised he didn't score more than 102, to be honest. But either way, that's a ton, so we're happy with that. Caleb Daniel, he was terrific. 28 disposals, 107 Supercoach points. He should be pretty reliable this year, I think. He just finds a way to get the pill, and he's just a brilliant ball user. So his efficiency is always high, which leads to pretty consistent high scores. Tommy Stewart took a while to get going, but his second half was pretty fantastic. He finished with 113 Supercoaches. I think that may have been the highest for Geelong in their disappointing and pretty poor performance against the Crows on the weekend. Sam Dougherty on Thursday night, he had 94 points. The Doctor, people say he's such a brilliant kick and he's such a good decision maker. I don't really agree. Every time he gets the ball, I think he's going to turn it over every single time. I think he rushes and I think he takes too many risky kicks and it results in turnovers as well. But either way, 94 for him, which is pretty good. He was expecting 100 from him, but that's all right. Jordan Clark, he also started pretty slow on the weekend, but he finished with 80 points and he was pretty prolific in the last quarter especially. So he'll keep his spot for now, and 80 points at 241,000. Can't complain there. Tommy Highmore with a 60. I'm pretty sure he was on about 35 in the first quarter, so he struggled to really go on with a good score there, but you'll take 60 from a $117,000 rookie. And on the bench I had Cozzy, who didn't kick a goal, I don't think, and Harry Sharp, who was pretty good. He's got a good tank. He scored 51, which is probably what we can expect going forward. Now, if you move to the midfield, Lachie Neale, 721,000. Scoring 77 Supercoach points. Pretty sure he had 25 disposals, but he wasn't very influential at all. They got smashed by Sydney. Should expect him to bounce back, but if he puts in another poor performance in round 2, then he might come on the chopping board. I'll have to maybe downgrade him and I'll get him back when he's $200,000 cheaper. Who knows? We'll see. Clayton Oliver did Clayton Oliver things. 30 plus disposals, tackles, contested ball. Had 15 contested possessions. Finished with 122. Was Melbourne's best mid as always. Gun pick. Consistent as. Very reliable. Jack McRae had 118 Supercoach points. He should average around that for the rest of the season, I think. The Doggies mids were pretty good. Him, Bailey Smith, Bontempelli to an extent. Libba scored 108, so as a powerful midfield there, and expect McRae to consistently score 115s plus this season. Zacky Merritt, he had a brilliant first half and I thought he was on track for 150. And then he got tagged by Shields in the second half and he was pretty quiet. Just scored over 100 with 105 there. That's alright though, it's not the worst thing that can happen, but if he gets tagged, his output really diminishes. So we'll just see who he's up against every week and if they have a tag or not, to whether or not we should put him as vice captain or captain even. Tom Mitchell, only 3% ownership at the beginning of the season. I end up getting him instead of LDU, so I was contemplating having Jake Lloyd and LDU as my two players there in the backline and midfield. And I also had Nick Cox at the beginning of the season, but I traded him to Harry Sharp when he was named, and then I downgraded Lloyd to Caleb Daniel and I upgraded LDU to Tom Mitchell, who was 3% ownership. I just could not pass that up. He was unbelievable. 39 disposals, looked like he had missed a beat. His shoulders pulled up alright. He looks incredibly fit. He covered a lot of ground, so with these longer quarters this year, he'll average somewhere between 32 to 35 disposals, and I can see him get back to that 120 plus mark again this year. So he was probably the pick of my midfielders, and I'm glad I took the punt on him. Well, not really took the punt. I'm glad I picked him over LDU, who did score 115, mind you. Braden Campbell was pretty average in the back line, 56 points. It's alright, his job security is pretty strong, so he'll bounce back. Tommy Powell was good, kicked a goal, had 19 disposals, but only finished with 53 points. His ball use was a bit shaky, but first gamer, he looked pretty comfortable at the level. He should play all 22 games if he's fit. not injured. So Errol Goulden, 139 bangers for a rookie. Thank you. 3 snags, 10 marks, 20 plus disposals. He was fantastic. We can't expect him to post scores like that regularly. He might come out next week and score 30, but that's all right. It's a great start and he'll be a brilliant cash cow. James Jordan was good with 78 points. He kicked a goal as well and had 16 or so disposals. Sammy Barry, he nearly had more disposals. He nearly had more tackles than disposals like he did 2 years ago when he had 22 tackles and 15 disposals in a NAB League match. It was unbelievable, but he should see some regular game time there at Crows too. He was pretty good. And McNeil, 26 points. He wasn't too bad, but I reckon if out of the rookies that I have on my team here, his spot's probably in the most jeopardy, so keep a close eye on him. To the rucks. Max Gawn. He was terrible, really. He was on 7 Supercoach points at quarter time and 27 at the half. So he had a pretty good second half, scoring around, 65 Supercoach points. But we expected more. He was my captain, finished on 93. Did well to get there, but I was hoping for 120 minimum at least. Expect him to bounce back next week when they play, who do they have? St Kilda. So he's up against Paul Hunter, who Matty Flynn just scored a mammoth 140 here that you can see on the bench against. So we can expect Gawn to post a big score next week. So don't stress just yet. Brody Grundy is probably more of the worry. He only scored 70 points. He had 11 disposals. He had 39 hitouts, which I think was the most of any ruckman over the weekend. But his midfield was poor and his tap work wasn't the best. He didn't win enough ball around the ground. He looked sluggish, a bit off, so we'll see how he performs in round 2, but he could be on the chopping board for a downgrade option where I can upgrade elsewhere because he was, very underwhelming. If we move to the forward line now, we had Josh Dunkley, brilliant, contested ball. Still think he's going to finish as the number 1 forward. He started off brilliantly, 113 Supercoach points. Thank you. Jackie Zeeble was one I put in pretty late as well. He finished with 113 Supercoach points. He had 20 plus disposals. Luke McDonald didn't play, so Zeeble was taking most of the kickouts, which is easy points really. So we can expect him to do more of that over the next few weeks. I thought his defensive work was actually pretty good, so he'll be good for 90 plus this year, and he could be a F6 lock by the end of the season's end. We'll see what happens. Jarman Impey, 64 Supercoach points for 212,000. Look, he got off to a ripping start. He was mid-60s at the start of the third quarter, really, and then he went backwards. Somehow went down 49, and then he got scaled back up to 64 at the end of the game. So I expected him to continue with his strong form from the first half and finish at around 80 points or something like that, but it wasn't to be. He wasn't too poor, but his disposal and kicking, shit. It's just shite. I'm not a fan of that, but we'll see how he goes next week. I may downgrade him to Harry Jones, who I thought was pretty good. We scored around 50 points, but his job security is pretty good, and he's $100,000 cheaper, so we'll keep a close eye on that. Chad Warner was pretty good for the Swans. He had 70 Supercoach points. James Rowe from the Crows. Oh, he was electric, wasn't he? Oh, I loved watching him on the weekend. I reckon that Crows-Cats game was probably one of the best games I've seen over the last few years. Such energy. The Crows were quick with their ball, and they just put Geelong under siege for the whole game, really, and they did well to hang on. I thought Geelong were going to come back there in the last quarter, but it was not to be. Taylor Walker was really good, kicked 5 snags, but James Rowe kicked 2 goals. He had mid-teens disposals. He's brilliant. I'm glad I had him on the field. A lot of people had him on the bench, so I got a bit lucky there. And then we had Anthony Scott, who scored 56 points, which I thought he played pretty well with the half-back line. I can expect him to average somewhere around 60 to 65. He played better than his 56 score represents, in my opinion. And then we had the Berg on the bench. He may lose his spot in the next couple of weeks. I'm not too sure, but he was okay. Just a bit shaky with ball in hand, but pretty solid. 31 Supercoach points isn't what we want. I'm glad that wasn't on my field, but he will remain for now. And Brockman, who finished with 22 Supercoach points. He kicked 2 goals. He won't get dropped, that's for sure. He played pretty well. He's got some electric pace, and he's always pretty good forward centre. He's got some speed, and he obviously hits the scoreboard, so there's no chance of him getting dropped. But he did give a 50-metre penalty away late in the game, which is why that score is at 22. It should have been probably mid-40s, I think. But overall, it's a pretty good start. 2,136, top 2%. I think the ranks, was around 2,000, so can't really complain. There is a few players I'll be looking at in the next couple of weeks, which will be Dustin Martin. He had 158 Supercoach points, but he is known to score quite large and come back for the next 2 weeks and score pretty low. So we'll see how he goes before I make a final decision on him. But he looked fit and like he did in 2017. So do I regret starting him? Not really. 50% of people do have him, but for now I'm happy to just wait and see. I'm glad I don't have Patrick Dangerfield, who should get 3 to 4 weeks with his bump. Unfortunately, many people had him. Matt Rowell, sad story there with just a 6 Supercoach points and looks to be a PCL and ACL knee injury. Oh, let's hope not. Poor bloke can't get a good run at it, but that's football. Who else was really good? Jack Steele. He was on about 75 at the half and finished on 89. So he got tagged by Tuke Miller, I believe. We'll keep a close eye on him. He looks to be a good upgrade option. And that's pretty much it, guys, I think. If we go look to see who else was pretty good, go through the players here. Travis Burke, he was really good against the North Melbourne Kangaroos there with 160 points, kicked 2 goals as well. Callum Mills, fantastic. 2.8% of teams. Congratulations to people that did start him in the back line. You got up to a ripping start. And notably, Andy McGrath looked like he's going to go to a new level this year as well. He had 33 disposals and kicked a goal, 1.6% of teams. He might be an upgrade option. And Andrew Brayshaw and Adam Chera, Sam Walsh. So the 2017-18 crew there really coming to terms with AFL football now. They looked really good, all scoring 120 plus. So there's someone you can consider in your team. But that's it for the round 1 recap at the moment. It has been a great start to the season. I'm very happy where I sit at this present time. I nailed the rookies. I just got to nail the captain choice in round 2 and we should be good to go. I can expect my rank to jump up even further as the season progresses and a few of my premiums such as Gorn, Grundy, Neil and Dougherty start to perform a bit better. So we'll see how we go on Thursday when the Blues take the Pies at the MCG. We'll see you then. Cheers guys, thanks for watching.